All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to today's panel Q&A on volunteering as an underrepresented publishing professional or hopeful for the Society of Young Publishers. So we're going to give a few minutes for everyone to come in. So just feel free to say hi in the chat, say whereabouts you are in your publishing sort of career. So by publishing hopeful, we mean anyone who's looking to get their first job in the publishing industry, whether you're applying to work at a publishing house, at a bookshop, or launching a freelance career. And then by publishing professional, we mean anyone who currently works in the publishing industry, whether you're an employee of a publishing house, a bookseller, a freelancer, or anything else, because there's such a wide variety of roles in the publishing and book industries. And I just wanted to kind of go over what we mean by underrepresented backgrounds and communities. So, with the SYP, we're referring to identities that are underrepresented specifically in the publishing industry, which is often the same as everywhere else. So, this includes people from Black, Asian, and Latino, and mixed or multiple ethnicities, men, trans people, and non binary people, including intersex people as well, people aged over 30, people who consider themselves disabled, including people with physical disabilities, people who are neurodivergent, and people who consider themselves to come from a low income or working class background. So, as we get everyone in, we'll kind of go over the introductions. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. And if you need any help at all, we've got people sort of here to help. So Ellie's in the background handling all the tech things, and Michaela will be in the chat as well. So yeah, I'll just give a little bit of time for everyone to come in. And I hope everyone's having a really good day, because it's incredibly cold, and even down south, we've got snow here. Right, I think we're starting to sort of tail off a little bit now. So, yep. Hello, everyone. So a little introduction to the SYP. Run by a team of dedicated volunteers, the Society of Young Publishers, also known as the SYP, aims to support aspiring publishing hopefuls across the UK and Ireland to break into the industry and to encourage junior publishing professionals to progress their careers. We have 8 different branches and host a range of in-person and virtual events, alongside a mix of content from a blog, podcast, magazine, and more. We've invited current SYP volunteers for today's panel and tried to get a broad range of perspectives and experiences across the SYP committees. So seriously, thank you so much to all our panelists for volunteering today, because it's really appreciated. So to first introduce myself, I'm Han. I'm the current UK Inclusivity Lead. I am a person with dark hair. I'm wearing a green shirt and I'm on a blue background, or against blue background. And I'm wearing glasses. My pronouns are they, them. And now I'll go over to the panel. So we have, first of all, Annie.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Han. My name is Annie. I'm the UK Job and Student Outreach Lead, and my pronouns are she, her. And yeah, I'm a white person. I'm wearing glasses. I have short, very dark red hair, and I'm wearing a black jumper because I'm very cold. And yeah, that's it about me.
Thank you, Annie. And next we have Daniela.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniela. I'm one of the events officers from the London branch. Description, right? I have short hair, like against a white background with a gray sweater, and I have glasses.
Thanks, Daniela. And next we have Katie.
Hiya, I'm Katie, pronouns are they, them, and I'm a white person with brown shoulder length hair, which is kind of dyed blonde at the end, and I'm wearing glasses and a green jumper with a blurred background.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Michaela.
Hi everyone, I'm Michaela, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am the SYP UK co-chair. I am white, sitting against a relatively pale background, wearing a blue jumper, glasses, and brown hair.
Brilliant, thank you everyone. So we invite you to ask any questions you have about the Society of Young Publishers, what it's like to volunteer for the SYP, and any questions about applying to volunteer because our applications are currently open. Please put these questions in the Q&A box so panelists can see the questions and we can mark them as answered as we go through them. We do have a selection of questions to pull from as well to start us off. So these include some questions that we thought up ourselves that might be beneficial to people from underrepresented backgrounds and experiences, as well as kind of questions that seem like pretty good ones to go through. And I'm just going to make sure that I've got the Q&A box pulled up as well. Okay, so our first question is, how does the SYP judge applications fairly? So I'm going to start us off on this one because as Inclusivity Lead, I help anonymize applications. Basically, we take out information that is personal and that might identify someone. So this can include names, which are on the form, places where they work, and places where, say, they've done a university degree or where they've had some work experience, because this just makes it as anonymous as possible. And then this year we've kind of publicized some criteria. So the applications will be judged against three pieces of criteria, which are knowledge of the SYP, passion for SYP aims, and competency for the role. So this helps chairs select the best anonymous candidates for that year's role based on the information you put into your application. So if 2 or more applicants are equal based on this criteria, chairs would then be able to check whether any of the applicants have self-identified on their application as underrepresented. This means we can fairly assess applications while still promoting diversity across our committees. And we did this in response to some feedback that we got from last year's inclusivity survey. So the criteria can be found on the page on writing a great SYP volunteer application, which hopefully Michaela can pop into the chat, please, if you haven't. Does anyone else want to kind of come in on that? Any experience with sort of how it's done fairly? If not, that's fine. And we have got our first question from an anonymous attendee. So do most of you volunteer on top of full-time jobs, and how do you juggle that / manage your time?
I'm more than happy to take that one. So I actually did this year alongside my university degree. So I was doing a master's. So unlike people who are in a full-time, I had a bit more free time than probably some other people did. So it was quite nice for me from that aspect. And I have recently just been offered a job. So now towards the end of the year, whilst we're all kind of concluding our roles, I've now been doing this on top of a job. And I want to say for me personally, it's been quite easy to juggle, just because I have quite a lot of OCD. So I have everything in place for things like that. And also the team behind me have been incredible. So I'm the co-events officer. So that's kind of really helped me as well, as it's not just me doing every event. I have my co-events officer with me, and our chair, Imi, does incredible and will help us as well as the rest of the committee as well. So don't be afraid to ask people to help you as well.
Definitely, and I agree a lot with that. I've definitely experienced some of that. So unlike most of our volunteers, I work as a freelancer. So a lot of people are either hopefuls going into publishing or are assistants, or might have a different job and they're not in publishing yet, but they are still working. And I've definitely had a lot of support during my role from Michaela, who is my chair, as well as the other members of the UK committee, and also the inclusivity officers across the branches. And kind of managing time, I find it's very useful if you make sure that you kind of know what you're doing and sort of when you're expected to do them. And when I say expected to do them, I generally mean the expectations that you set yourself. Does anyone else want to weigh in on that question?
Yeah, sure. I work full time. I work as a rights assistant full time at HarperCollins, and I also work part time during the weekend, so very full life. But I kind of see the SYP as like a kind of a break also from work, like a really fun thing to do. Because it is fun. You get to like meet so many other people in the industry doing like, many different roles in so many different companies. So like it's job, but like it's also like you're volunteering, and there's a level of responsibility, but it's also like it's for me, I see it like as a nice break of like my actual like work. Like I get to organize these events and meet people, and for me it's been fun. So like I see it that way. That's how I manage it, because I really enjoy it and I want to be there for the events and I want to help out for the events. And yeah, and like, I mean, at least for events officers, it's always, for at least for London, it's a team of like, I think 6 people at least. So it's not like the weight of an event is just kind of dumped on you or anything like that. There's like a whole team helping you. And if for some reason you can't go to an event or do an event, somebody else can kind of pick up from where you left off. So there's always support. So yes.
I think I'd say from like a chair perspective as well, we really encourage that sort of open communication. So I think what I've found valuable throughout the year is when volunteers communicate, oh, things are getting quite busy for me, like I've got an upcoming deadline, because from there we can easily assess like priorities, workloads, and just really help volunteers, one, prioritize, but then also acknowledge that, we know that SYP cannot take your entire, cannot be your entire life. You've got other things going on alongside it. So I think always having that open communication with the chair, and that's something that we always like actively try to encourage. Like we're very much like, hopefully, like, I don't know how Annie and Hannah are feeling, but like hopefully we're kind of, we're very open to people messaging us always on Slack, just to sort of keep us up to date, keep us in the loop. And we don't want people to be afraid of sort of saying, oh, actually, I can't do it this week because I've got this and on, or I'm not feeling incredibly well. Like, it's a volunteer role and we acknowledge that.
Yeah, definitely. Go on, Annie.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I definitely agree. So yeah, what I've found is just how everyone is really understanding and lovely and open. So yeah, if I do have like a week where my job is busier, so I do work full time as well, it's absolutely fine that I might be a bit slower in replying to things and stuff. What I'd also say, this is a little bit more specific to my role, because I manage our jobs board, but I kind of, in terms of like how I manage my time, I've kind of started this schedule of I collate the jobs that I want to post on there throughout the week, whenever I have a few minutes, and then I have a Friday afternoon or evening to just post them all in one go, and it helped me so much. It was, yeah, it works a lot quicker that way, and yeah, it just helps me to be like, okay, Friday is my jobs posting day. And yeah, so yeah, that's just and I agree with everything anyone else said.
Yeah, and kind of connected to that, I think it's very important to know that you are completely in charge of when you do your volunteering. And I think we all have very different schedules. So some people might do more volunteering on the weekend, and then I generally do it kind of when I have a moment here and there. So there are some things where I might go, well, I've got a few minutes, so I'll just double check that I've got messages, and then I might work a little bit on this. And then sometimes it's about setting aside an hour to do a little bit of volunteering work. And everyone, like with the Slack, it's really good because it pauses your notifications at a certain time as well, which can be difficult to know when you've got a message, especially if it comes in late at night, but there's no pressure to reply too quickly as well. And kind of one of our next questions, I think, really ties into this well. So the question is, what is the time commitment like for your role? Does it vary throughout the year? And I think we're going to have some really interesting spread of answers here.
Yeah, I can go ahead with mine. Yeah, I'd say my time commitment is around sort of 3 to 5 hours for me right now. I'm not sure what it's I think that's now what it's advertised at, but because it can also be less. So as we've said, it's a very flexible role, or very flexible roles. That you can make fit around your day-to-day life and around your full-time job or your studies, which is really great. And the expectations are that you put in as much time as you can. And yeah, but I'd say it's so between 3 and 5 hours. I usually kind of commit to that because I'm able to, which means I have a lot of time to update the jobs board, make sure I include as many jobs on there as I can, and also reach out to as many universities and keep those conversations going. I would say the job site doesn't really vary throughout the year. It varies from week to week, depending on how many jobs there are posted that week. Yeah, for example, the student outreach varies a bit more. So during the summer, it was very quiet because most people were off. Or yeah, just stuck in assignments or things like that. But yeah, now, or like the last couple of months, it has really picked up again, and I'm guessing over the Christmas period it will get quieter again. So yeah, it's really a term time thing. So yeah, that's just a bit about my role.
I can go next. I think for events officer, I mean, I volunteered last year, and I was the person like in charge of the book club. So that was like, just to give an example, that was something like very constant, because it was, read the book, post about the book, then post again so people remember that the book club is happening, then book a place. And I think, I don't know, it was maybe like for the whole month, maybe like, I don't know, 5 hours in total. It didn't take up like a lot of time. Obviously read the book. That's like an extra part. So something like that tends to be a bit more constant, but it's also like not very time consuming. Now in like my second year of volunteering, of just like being just an events officer, I've been more like supporting events, just being there, helping organize, and just being present when an event is happening, to just like help out with attendees, help out with coordination. And yeah, that tends to vary a lot. Sometimes it's like, I mean, 3 events happening, so you go and they will last, I don't know, 2 hours, 1 hour, so it will be 6 hours a month. It tends to be very little sometimes. If there's something big happening, then it gets a bit like more hectic. But it's also a role that's split between like 6 other people, so that helps a lot. Because for instance, the biggest thing we planned this year was the career speed dating at Hachette. Huge, contacting all of those speakers to come, but it was like split again into between like the whole theme. So it's like everybody was just in charge of like getting a group of like publishing professionals. So that made it like easier, like, I don't know, an hour to like just contact people and like keep in touch with them. So at least for events, it tends to be, I think, a bit less than the one you do, Honey. Just like, I don't know, in like a whole month is like maybe a couple of hours, and if you go to events, maybe a little bit more, but that's, that's fun. You get to meet people, so not too much work.
I think mine's very similar. So there are 2 events officers in the North Committee, so myself and then my co-lead, which is also called Katie, so that's not confusing at all for us. But it's a lot of fun as well when you can ask people for help as well. So for instance, the book clubs, we have our whole committee help on those. So it's not just me and Katie thinking of the books. We're not just making up the questions ourselves. It's quite nice to have that variety as well, for instance, in the book club. So I would definitely go for more historical YA books. So you get that spread by asking the entire committee to help out. And I think it does, again, depend on what you're doing, how many events you're running. So at the moment, we're planning 2 events, one in person, one online. They take different amounts of time as well. So for online, it's a lot simpler, I want to say, compared to an in-person one, as that can take, venue hire, costs, and then you've got to talk about budgets, etc. So I think it's really nice when you've got a couple of things going on. But at the beginning of the year, when we only had one event going on, that was a lot nicer for time management, because we were just getting into our roles, we were understanding what was happening, and it might have taken us a bit longer to do it back then than it does now, because we now know our own system. So the more you volunteer, the more you have your own ways, you kind of figure out what's happening in the committee, and stuff does get quicker. But again, because we want to do more things, it becomes more time consuming. So it is whatever you put in, you do get back out. So it's up to you as an individual and as a committee as well. So bouncing off one another is definitely important. And I'm one of those people, as I said, I've done a master's, so I was constantly on my phone, and people around me were working their like full-time jobs, and me just kind of texting them and spamming them. And then they'd be like, maybe got back to me the day before, a couple of days later, and that's obviously absolutely fine. So it depends on what time you've got as well, as we've all been saying. So I think depending on who you are is how you work, and we all have very different ways, as we've just explained, because I will just hop on my phone and have an idea and I'll text it, whereas other people might stay back for a couple of days, and that's absolutely fine as well, because we all work in different ways.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely find that there are different roles do have different expectations, and this is covered quite well in the new role descriptions as well. And for me, it definitely depends mostly on what's happening. So if there are applications that I'm there to anonymize, I might do more hours that week and then not as many the next week. Or sometimes I can just get it done in one day. It really depends on what applications. So we, as inclusivity officers, we do the mentorship applications as well as the committee applications, because we don't have any say in those at all. So those are kind of the 2 big kind of deadlines. I think this event is the other big deadline I've had. And generally I don't feel pressured at all as well to work more than I need to. There are definitely things that I'd love to do more of, and maybe I don't have time because of work or because of life. But I feel really supported in kind of making sure that I have enough time and space for that. I'd say, from my understanding, the chair role is a little bit more intensive, but you have to, from what I understand, Michaela, you have to volunteer for a year first before you can become a chair. So
yeah. So we have different chairs across our different branches. Some of them are sort of shared roles almost. So I work really closely with my co-chair. Whereas some roles, for example, like Imi in the North Branch, so that's the singular role for that. So I think, yes, you're correct, Han, in that chair does involve like an extra workload almost to it, because it's a lot of project management, and it does involve having being in a position in a committee before. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have been on the last year's committee. So you could come out, leave for a year, I know 1 or 2 people got married, that sort of thing, and then considering re-entering into the SYP world, which is nice. So that's an option. And then I think a second point would be sort of a difference in role between like the UK UK committees and then the regionals. In that sort of there would be slightly higher time expectation for the UK role, just because it involves trying to coordinate a team almost sometimes, and then trying to have those conversations about wider strategy, which we can talk more on that later, but that brings lots of extra benefits and lots of extra things you can like get out of it and learn from, and it's brilliant. But there's always that slight time distinction between the two.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, like seasonal events and so on as well. I think it's good that generally nothing is planned for like the beginning of kind of the term, so to speak, of your role. So you can have that time to settle in. So our next question comes from an anonymous attendee. I've seen from the SYP website that the last inclusivity survey was in 2023. May I ask what changes or new initiatives have been implemented as a result? Are there upcoming changes planned? So I will start with this question because I have pulled up my little list of things that I was going through to see how we were meeting the kind of proposed changes and kind of some of the feedback that we got last year, because a lot of this year has been kind of making sure that we've got that and we're prepared for next year's inclusivity survey, because we do the inclusivity survey every 2 years. So on my list of actions here, we have reviewed how the SYP will promote committee applications. So we're doing our best to really make sure that we're promoting as many different and kind of variable places as possible. Then we reviewed the committee application template, kind of the form that you will apply on, as well as the job descriptions. So a lot of work was done there in just making sure that they're kind of really cohesive. And yeah, the time commitments as well were especially updated. Because yeah, we were reviewing the transparency of volunteer roles as well. Then this is one of our kind of actions today. We wanted to have a plan for kind of a Q&A for volunteer applications for underrepresented groups, so that we could really empower more people to volunteer. And when I say empower, I specifically mean in terms of just making you feel as confident about volunteering as possible. Then the other thing that I've already mentioned was the criteria. So we wanted to agree on selection criteria and then where it would be put. So that is in the aforementioned blog post on how to write a great application. I'm saying off the top of my head, sorry. We were reviewing content ideas and kind of past content for people who are 30 plus, because during our last survey we found that quite a number of people were not in that 20 to 30 bracket, because changes have been made over time to kind of be a bit more inclusive to people who are maybe joining the publishing industry later on in life. So there's now no age limit at all to being part of the SYP or volunteering for the SYP. So we've done that. We do have more content ideas on other underrepresented communities as well. We had 2 masterclasses for the Ahead stream this year, which was specifically because of the inclusivity survey. We started a quarterly events bulletin, so that's been going really well. So there were several people who fed back that basically we needed a little bit more notice on events, so we've done that. We have made some new contacts with internal networks. So this year we had an event with the Cross Publisher Collective, which brings together LGBTQIA plus employee-led networks within publishing companies. We have a planned event for January for underrepresented groups. This one is going to be on kind of the role of inclusivity and diversity in the publishing industry. We have kind of looked into other events that we've held this year. So our book club events have been we've been having a lot of diverse books, not just from characters and sort of settings, but also authors. And then, nope, that's it. Is there anything I've missed off? Michaela, you might know.
I think those were the main ones. I think you've covered that brilliantly, Han. I'd say that it was, yeah, definitely the events bulletin was quite a key step in terms of people were looking with saying that events were potentially not as accessible because we were not giving like a significant amount of notice. So now we sort of have 1 month at least notice alongside the events bulletin, where it's several months notice. So for that, it's really about like how we can improve our processes, and obviously there's a lot more steps that we can take and a lot more that we could do, but things like that are like small internal shifts that we can be making that will have a tangible impact on hopefully our members, but also on non-members as well.
Yeah, definitely. And just like with the upcoming, obviously, with the inclusivity survey being every 2 years, that means that we can really make sure that we're addressing things as they come up. Because obviously, well, not obviously so much, but we have 3 years where we can volunteer on the SYP committee. So our committees are always changing, but we're really trying to make sure that those internal processes are kind of documented and can be improved on and can be reviewed regularly as well, to support not only the SYP to continue doing what it does so well, but also on just onboarding new volunteers. So yeah, that's what we've been doing for that. So our next question is, what kind of volunteering work do you do for your role? Do volunteers work mostly alone or with other people? And as you can sort of tell, we have a good spread. So some of us are kind of working specifically with one, maybe more than a few people. So yeah, who wants to go in on that first?
I could do like an opener to it, just in that our, like from a broader organization sense, we're set up so that people hopefully have like buddies or points of connection within the UK, within committees. So our UK committee, we have like a buddy system almost, where we encourage people to have that direct contact with a set individual within the team. But then also we really hope that people again have that open connection with the chairs, and I feel like Annie and Hannah, I'm constantly messaging you guys and you guys are constantly messaging you back, and it's great. So I think there's that, but we have our we have like monthly committee meetings in general, and those are really nice ways that people can also communicate and feedback and be involved in each other's activities. So we really hope that collaboration within a committee is really important, but then we're also really trying to encourage collaboration across branches as well. So to that end, we have like different cross-branch working groups almost. So we'll have like Annie will be leading the student outreach team, which will be student outreach roles from across the different branches. And we're really hoping that that will continue to build in the coming years, as we figure the more people that volunteers can interact with, the more they can learn, the more SYP can build, and the more we can share like best practices and really sort of work collectively to improve the organization, but also what you're learning as well as volunteers. So I think there's that element of, yes, you're working within your committee and you're like really hopefully having those strong connections with your team, but then also you're building those connections beyond your team as well.
I can follow up. So the question was, what kind of volunteer do you do? Okay. For events, I think I kind of covered that already. It can be there, just being there present for an event to help out with coordinating and assisting, I don't know, with snacks, helping out, organize attendees, that type of thing. It can also be like taking point like in the organization of an event and being the one leading it and contacting the attendees, contacting people who might sponsor us if that's the nature of the event, contacting the venue, posting the event as well, posting it on the website, posting it on our socials, keeping an eye out to like post it again like a week before it happened, so it's, you know, fresh on people's minds. And you know, if you don't have time, you also like can skip like helping out on a specific event. At least for London, the events team, it's big. I didn't know for the North it was just 2 people. For us, it's 6 people helping out with that. And yeah, that's kind of what I do.
I think as well, you always think about working within your own committee. So for the North, I'd be just working with the North, whereas that's not the case. So for one of our book clubs, we worked with the Island Committee. So you're working with so many people, whether it's internally in your own committee or amongst other SYP branches, as well as the outer, especially as an events officer, when you're communicating with people working within the publishing industry. So you've got so many different people you're communicating with constantly. You're never really on your own, even if you want to do a job and it's just for you. You've got so many people you can talk to, so many people to support you if you're not completely sure which direction you want to take it. So it's, I think, really important to keep those communications up, as everyone has been saying tonight. It's just one of those incredible opportunities you get. And whether, like I've just said, it's something you're going to do it on your own, you're not on your own, if that makes sense. It's a very nice committee and a very nice community as well to work with.
Yeah, definitely. So when it comes to inclusivity, it's a little bit more focused on kind of working with the chairs and kind of working with different roles. So for instance, I might send Annie something that I've seen, like a job description. Sometimes there might be kind of a charity kind of role, and I'm like, oh, this would be good, and it doesn't come up on kind of I mean, Annie knows more about this, but like things like that where kind of I'm looking for things and it's just like randomly comes up and I'm just sending it to people like, oh, have you considered this? Or, oh, have you found this? Or with Michaela, it's kind of, hey, can you review this? So my role is kind of very internal because I don't really have much contact with kind of members, other than like events like this. But then you can choose that. So recently I joined a event that Annie was running with one of the universities. So that's kind of, there are lots of opportunities for getting involved in what you want to do as well. It's not just limited to your role. Annie, do you want to talk a little bit more about kind of the external side when it comes to the universities?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as Han said, my role is quite external, because yeah, I do a lot of sort of outreach and building connections and relationships with universities across the UK. So yeah, as part of the UK branch, I cover all of the universities that aren't covered by one of the regional branches. And yeah, it involves a lot of sort of emailing and yeah, kind of sharing resources, sharing information about the SYP. And yeah, I've also been doing, especially over the last few months, I've been trying to organize a lot of sort of online events where we mainly talk about the SYP and also the publishing industry as a whole, to just introduce it to students and answer any questions they may have. And those have been absolutely amazing. And I really enjoyed connecting with so many people and talking to so many people. And this is also specific to me, like you don't have to do this, there's no pressure. But you know, I've also said I'm open for emails and for people to connect with me on LinkedIn. And again, it's just been amazing to kind of have all of these connections and try to help as many people as I can, really. And yeah, in terms of the job side, so that's more or less the opposite. So that is a very internal role when it comes to sort of the communications. Obviously, all of the searching for jobs and stuff I do on like publishers' websites. But yeah, as Han said, Hannah's actually amazing at finding really good jobs that I would never come across. And so whenever they send me a job, I'm always like, yes, I would have never found this. Yeah, also just making sure that all the most important jobs, if there is such a thing, are included in like our newsletters and like yeah, to get the word out. And I talk a lot with our communications officers. So yeah, my role is kind of balanced in that way. That it's very, yeah, varied.
Definitely, that's great. So our next question is from an anonymous attendee. What do you love most about your specific roles? I really love this question. So who wants to start on that?
I'll go. I love that when I got here to London, because I'm not from here, I moved here to study a master's at UCL. It gave me the opportunity to just kind of like get some experience, doing events and everything. Get something to like put on my CV because I didn't have like any experience at all. But it gave me the opportunity to like put myself out there and meet so many people. I didn't think I was too social when I got here to London, but I didn't want to just like stay like shut in, just studying and not talking to anybody. So like getting the courage to like go out there and volunteer because I was a bit intimidated by it. I thought like, oh my God, events, what if I don't do it right? What if it's like too complicated or something? But I decided to go for it and it was amazing. And I've gotten to meet so many people, to connect with so many people. So that's what I love about it. Like I've gotten to meet like so many publishing professionals and also like learn from them. Because for instance, I'm in rights right now, and I thought that basically that job, that role looked the same in every company. And it turns out from meeting other rights professionals that it does not look the same in every company. It looks really different from company to company. So that's been like really interesting and just kind of like eye-opening. So yes, that's what I love about my role.
I think there's so many different things I love about this role. It's incredible. But I do think when you put an event on and other people can gain something from it, so specifically the information we're giving now in this panel, for instance, someone will take it away and feel like they can apply if they already don't feel like they can. So for instance, we held an event and someone came up to me and went, I've just got a week's work experience because I've spoken to this working professional and they've offered me this opportunity. And I was going, oh my goodness, like that's incredible. Because yes, I've made this event happen with the committee behind me, but if this person didn't show up or this professional didn't show up, this wouldn't have happened. And it was great to see people getting something out of it. But there are so many other things I could say, but I think that was really a highlight when it happened. And being able to tell people that as well, like someone gained something from something I did. It's nice for me as well as them because I allowed that to happen in a way. I suppose allowed's not a great word, but hopefully you get what I mean.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to me, kind of hearing what, or even that the events, for example, that I've run have been useful, like hearing from students like, oh, I've never even considered publishing as an industry, and then my lecturer sent me the link to this event, and I thought I'd join, and now I'm really considering it, and I'm learning so much about it. And yeah, I think that kind of what I love most about my role, and also from the sort of job side, just I always kind of know what's out there. Not that I'm personally actively looking for a job. I have an amazing job, but it's always good to kind of have an overview of what's going on, especially when you then talk to publishing hopefuls. Sort of what is going on, what kind of jobs are out there, what kind of salaries are offered, what kind of experience are they looking for. So yeah, it's just great. And I think in general, it's not specific to my role, I think, but just meeting so many people on the committee as well and connecting with all of them, be they hopefuls themselves still or already professionals as well. And yeah, it's always great to have connections.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a singular thing I can say for SYP. I'd say so I've been with SYP for 3 years, and I say that it's one changed me like as a person. It's changed me sort of professionally as well, on that side of things. And I think the people that I've met, I've learned so much from the people that I've worked with. Like I've learned so much just from the committees that I've worked with, from the co-chairs that I've worked with, from like the partners and the industry connections that I've had meetings with, that you just absorb so much and you don't often realize how much you've absorbed, and then you reach the end of the year and you're like, oh my gosh, like look at what I've actually managed to do. So it's definitely like a confidence builder on that side of things. Yeah, and then also just it's a brilliant opportunity to always give back to the industry, and to support change within the industry as well. I really hope that SYP is a space where people can chat and think about new different ways that, you know, we can improve the industry or make the industry more accessible to a variety of different people looking to get in, and sort of like provide that support for maybe like people working remotely. They can come along to our networking sessions that are all online, like all the different like avenues that we're doing, like the Spare Room project, where we're actively trying to connect people who don't have accommodation in London, provide them a temporary place to stay with a publishing professional, like things like that. I like the idea that I'm helping that in some way. And I think like if you're interested in like really being involved in initiatives like that, there are so many brilliant ones like Spare Room. We've got the mentorship scheme, which is amazing. We've got our Spare Zoom again, but we've got like our digital content, our jobs board, our, you know, events. There's like so many ways, like our inclusivity roles as well, which are integral to all of those initiatives. So I think from that level, there's so many things that you could do if you've got a mind to sort of how the industry can improve. It's a way to almost have like a voice and sort of think through some of those ideas and see what could actually happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I agree with everything everyone has said, but I especially need to kind of point out, like in my experience, I'm very much with Daniela. I work remotely, I work freelance, I work in a very different role to most people in the publishing industry because I don't work for anyone. I work for myself. So I get to learn a lot about what the publishing industry is like from that side, as well as kind of what other work people are doing. So there's kind of, for me, it really batters that kind of isolated feeling because, yeah, I'm working remotely, but I can connect with all these amazing people. I can go to networking events, because one of the benefits of being a volunteer is that you get free membership with SYP, and then I get to go to the member networking, and I really like that. But also, there are so many opportunities you get out of being an SYP, and I started up as a mentee. And I'm really glad that I did because I didn't think it would fit me. And it's worked really well. So our next question is for our lovely events officers. So for events officers, when it says previous event planning is preferred, would that have to be actual work, or does planning events as a uni society exec count? And does it greatly decrease chances to not have that experience? So yeah.
I don't think I had that much experience, like at all. That's what kind of called to me volunteering for the SYP, that it was so welcoming. There was people who didn't have like much experience. I think it was just something like that along those lines, like just my uni experience, like a couple of things that I did. Um, and also it was a little bit of that and a lot of me being like very excited about the role. I really, really wanted to do it, and I think that really shined through my application. I was like really excited to get to do the events, to get to connect with people, and to get like to give others the space to like connect with people, because like being new in a city, in a country, I felt that so deeply, like how hard it can be to like just like reach out to others. It's not very simple, or at least for me it wasn't. So I was just thinking of that and wanting to provide that for others. So yes, it can be just your university experience, and it doesn't have to be a lot. And it can be like 1/3 that and like 2/3 your absolute enthusiasm for wanting to be in the SYP and doing events.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think because I applied when it's open now, so this time last year, because this is my first time for SYP, I did one event in the October and applied in the November. So you really don't need to have much experience at all. I was working part-time alongside my university degree, and I was told to plan a Halloween social during the day for all my colleagues. And I literally came with a few Halloween buns, and that if that was any experience, if they wanted experience within the application, that was my experience. It wasn't much, but I'm here and I've planned so many wonderful events with the team. So of course, part-time work might help. University work, with socials or other like committees you've got at uni will definitely help. So you don't need that at all, in my opinion.
Definitely. And I will say that even when we're asking like for work experience and stuff, that does include volunteer experience always. That's one of the updates we've made to the volunteering application form. Just get that experience how you can, and then the SYP will help you grow even more experience. And Michaela, would you like to kind of go on a little bit more on that?
Yeah, just to sort of round up everything everyone's been saying, because it's blind application anyway, even it's more about the skills of those events. So like Katie probably was able to sort of show that she came up with some ideas, she sort of brought them to the table, she was able to maybe measure the impact of the one event that she ran. So I think, that it's more about the skills than actually like the extensive like full-time event experience. Like that's not what we're asking for in any by means. It's more about just hitting that one criteria of like, have you got any skills that you could demonstrate almost within a small 100, like 200 words. So it does not have to be full-time employment at all. That is not what we're asking for.
You can also learn on kind of the job, so to speak. You will get a lot of experience just from volunteering. And that includes a lot of guidance and kind of events other people have kind of run. So that would really help as well. So no worries. Our next question is from another anonymous attendee. I have a lot of enthusiasm, which I think I can get across in person, but because I am autistic, I sometimes think I am not good at getting across in writing for applications. Do you have any advice on how to convey the excitement I know I have? So I'm going to start by saying, hi, I'm autistic too. No worries. I don't think I convey my enthusiasm very much unless I like punctuate all of my sentences with exclamation marks, which I know I do a lot. So I completely understand this question. I don't think you have too much to worry about. When it comes to enthusiasm, I would also think of it as like, talk a little bit about kind of what experience you have just in terms of publishing interest, or kind of if you're attending SYP events already, you can mention that as well. So for instance, you could say like, if you go to book clubs, talk about the book club events. Like if you were going for events and then you said, oh, I've been going to some of the SYP kind of, let's say Oxford book clubs, I really enjoy them and I'd like to kind of get involved in sort of setting those up. That shows enthusiasm as well. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I guess it's just the one, like two of those criteria. So it's like passion for SYP and knowledge of SYP. So conveying the excitement isn't going to be, I love reading books, because that's brilliant. We all really, really love books and whatever we do. But if you could say, oh, I'm aware that you've been doing this and I'd really like to get involved with this, or I'd like something that I've seen in quite strong applications is someone comes up with an idea of what they want to do. For example, I'd love to run an event tackling this topic because I've noticed like it's not really being covered, or produce some digital content around this area, or I've got an idea to improve this. That could be a nice way to show an excitement and genuine engagement with the role and also SYP, because you're already ticking all those boxes.
Definitely. Does anyone kind of feel like they were particularly enthusiastic in their application, or did some people kind of tackle it in more of like a job application way where it's very formal? Very curious what kind of different applications we sent in to get this role.
I don't know. I don't think I did it in a kind of job application way, actually, just kind of because at that point I didn't even have that much experience applying to any publishing related type of job. So it definitely didn't come out that way. I just kind of in my head to put it together, kind of did it like through bullet points of what it was asking me, like why was I interested? Um, what could I like personally like contribute to it? What kind of like how I even like find out about it? What do I want to do this? If I do get the chance to do it, like how will I do it? That type of thing. And then I try to like put it together in a nice paragraph, plus a bit of like my experience at university. I just kind of like also I really managed to like I feel like I managed to get across like my point of view, like being an international student, um, and just yeah, new to the city, new to like the industry, at least the industry here in this country, and how I just thought that it was like such a great opportunity to connect with people, especially if you're in that position. And not even if you're like completely like an international person, but like even if you're like outside of London and you're coming like brand new to a new city, it can also be like such a great way to connect. And that's kind of how I saw it. And that was like the point of view, my personal point of view, that I think made it be enthusiastic about that role. So yeah.
I'm honestly can't remember how my application went. I think it was probably a mix of both. Try and keep it as professional as possible, but get that enthusiasm across. And I think when you want something and you're applying for something, that enthusiasm comes across anyway. So you just have to kind of show what you know, and hopefully people will be able to interpret the enthusiasm as well. And I literally put exclamation marks after everything I say as well. So it's reading through it again and going, actually, let's get rid of that because I've said it. I don't need that exclamation mark. Because every time I just kind of wanted to put like 5 exclamation marks to go, look at this, like this is really cool, this is a great idea, or something like that. So yeah, I think I definitely tried to keep it more professional, just so I wouldn't go ahead and just write it all in caps lock, because I would definitely do something like that to show the enthusiasm I've got.
Annie, any final thoughts?
I've been trying to rack my brain, but it's been almost a year since I filled out that application, so I do not remember specifically. But yeah, I can just say kind of, I think it's about, you know, understanding what the SYP does and why you are enthusiastic about that. I think is a big part of it, and that I think I kind of capitalized on. And yes, on the exclamation marks, I am prone to do that too, even in my day job. And I do go back a lot, just go, okay, there's no need to shout. But yeah, so definitely, yeah, kind of look at, you know, have a look around the website, I think, and kind of familiarize yourself as much as you can with what we do, what kind of our values are and our goals are. And I think if you can show enthusiasm for that, or say why you think that is important as well, I think that already can go a long way.
Yeah, definitely. I think my final thought on that would be, if you feel like you convey enthusiasm quite well in person, try recording yourself talking about it and then watch that recording back and write your application that way. I think that's a really good way of doing it. But we come to the end, so thank you for joining us today for our panel. I hope you feel more confident and prepared for volunteering with the Society of Young Publishers. You can submit an application on the Volunteer with the SYP page. Applications to join all committees other than Scotland are currently open. And be sure to follow us on social media or sign up to our newsletter to hear more about more opportunities to get involved with SYP in the future. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you to our wonderful panelists.